Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Saturday Morning D&D Show, where we talk about Dungeons & Dragons and all other cool stuff related to tabletop RPGs. And we have a lot of stuff of tabletop things to talk about today. Joining me always is my wonderful co-host, Sir Lucian, over at Sir Lucian Gaming. Say hello, sir. I know, gosh, wake me up when September ends, am I right? Gosh. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, and maybe it's just because summer's over, so you're not camping anymore, but that always, or you're not vacationing, but that always aligns with October, and then the start of Halloween games. Oh, there's no sound from Lucian. Oh no, talk. Oh. It's true.
It is true.
Oh, there he is. Okay,
Yay.
That's my bad.
Well, hey everybody, I'm back.
That's my bad. I am, well, obviously I'm the one streaming, but yeah, I am still figuring out the new computer. So last week, not the new computer, but I had to wipe my operating system. So last week, Lucian was always on, and every scene I had to manually mute him. So I was like, oh, I'll like figure out how to do that. So now I had it wrong. So there you go.
Right, there you go.
Hey, we're here.
We're back.
We're back. So
well,
exciting.
Welcome.
Yeah, we were just talking about summer winding down and campaigns usually starting around the September-October period. And October always is like a starting of a campaign for me, because that's the start of like the themed ones too, where you're like, oh, let's do a Halloween one-shot.
Yeah.
And then you realize you like these people or something and you keep playing, because one-shots turn into whole campaigns sometimes.
Thanksgiving's one shot, Christmas one shots, Easter one shots. Yeah, you get a whole bunch in there. For sure. And I mean, we're at the end of the year. We've had, maybe a lot of us have been pretty active, or at least try to get out in the last couple months, or your kids are now, you have to be back because your kids are going to school. So it's not like you're globe trotting anymore. Not that maybe many of us did in COVID days, but it just feels like this is a big start. And I feel like I've seen a lot of people talking about their new campaigns lately too.
Yeah.
Like a lot of new shows that are about to start. They're about to start either season 1 of this, or they're on their season 3 of this, and it's about to start. So this all seems to be like a nice starting point for people. So I'm excited.
It makes sense to take like summers off, but
yeah,
boy, I just want to game all the time. So that's me.
Game all the time.
So fun.
News-wise, we had a little bit, at least. We've kind of known everything. In the last couple of shows we've talked about where they've kind of told us the whole slate for the rest of the year. So we haven't been waiting in anticipation for announcements or scouring Amazon web pages trying to find leaks, because they've kind of already told us what's coming. So I guess that kind of preemptively fixes the leaks, right? I guess you don't got to worry about that anymore. But I did see, just got posted, a website got put up, D&D Celebration 2021, another online celebration. So I thought, white balance crazy off. I would post that up. It's the 23rd of September, so in this month, just I think
23rd to the 26th
is session 0 is what they're calling it, kind of like the preview day.
And that's gonna be, this is the big hype for Wild Beyond the Witchlight. But it also has that DM challenge that's been going on. Right. And I don't know if, because we're in, I don't know what stage we're in. Yeah, we're in stage 3. So if you go to dndcelebration.com, they have a little tab called the DM Challenge, and we talked about this where you were entering to be a dungeon master, and then they're having like a contest, and it's kind of, I don't know, like those weird elimination shows that they have. Yeah, make a monster, make a trap, make a whole dungeon, and then things like that. So they have their 3 finalists who are going to run some challenge at the D&D celebration, and I don't know who they are, but there's a video here that says they're announced. I
think they'll be announcing them, or they get
something
announced during that time. I think
I'll watch it later because we're doing a live show. But Yeah, the winner will be announced during the D&D live celebration. So,
Yeah.
but I don't actually. Yeah, I'm curious about who's doing all of that. Oh, we do have our finalists. Okay, so we have Andrew from Canada, Sergio from the United States, and Brad from, I believe that's New Zealand's flag.
Interesting.
Those are our finalists, and then here are all the other ones that didn't make it. Someone from a lot of yeah. So actually, that's kind of cool. So we have our yeah. I don't know anything about these people, but yeah, we should check them out.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if not only are they dungeon masters and they entered the contest, were they also streaming their games, or are they just dungeon masters that play for their group and thought, hey, I'll just join this contest. I'm a pretty good dungeon master. My players love my games.
Yeah, I don't know. And this is a problem with this thing, is this has been so poorly advertised. Like it, and I don't know why, but like if I was Wizards of the Coast, like you think that you would make this a big deal, but like, I mean, the fact that they have their finalists, but I didn't even hear what all the other stuff was happening. I'm like, what? So, apparently, Jen, she's a Dream Wisp. She's on Twitter. Well, she's on a lot of things, but she's on Twitter, and we talk on Twitter. She's a really cool person. She's one of the judges. So is B. Nice. Dave Walters and Matthew Lillard. So we have some fun judges. That's cool. Very cool. So this could be fun to watch. We'll see. I was a little hesitant because the filling it all out, it was like basically by entering, you're giving Wizards of the Coast everything. And then all of the stuff you've written is now their property and you don't get it back. And I didn't like that. And then the prize was just a lot of D&D books that I already have. And so I was like, you know, and like, and from my mindset, I'm like, oh man, the exposure would be great, but like clearly it's not, because nobody they're relying on.
Nobody would know right now.
Yeah,
that Jordan's a finalist unless we told him.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know.
Well, so D&D celebration's coming up, a couple weeks. So it's an online one again. I'm sure they're going to have celebrity games. I went and looked at the schedule, and it said come back later, so they haven't posted the schedule quite yet, though I'm sure they're putting pieces out there to start to decide and get those things together. They're running Adventure League games. If you want to create a character, you have your Adventure League character, and they're going to be having lots of Adventure League DMs organize games throughout that whole weekend. And it's all around the celebration of the release of the book, the Witchlight book. And the adventures themselves are kind of wrapped around the whimsical carnival of, what is it, Wild in the Witchlight, or Witch in the Wildlight?
The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Yeah, there's the Feywild Carnival that's there. So yeah.
That one.
It's the Witchlight Carnival is what it's called.
Yeah. So that's coming up.
Yeah, no, and it'll be fun to watch. I mean, I enjoy those things, and I like a lot of the people, so it's kind of interesting. It will be fun. We didn't talk about this, but PAX started yesterday. PAX West.
Oh yeah, West.
And there was an Acquisitions Incorporated game last night.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
I believe it was ran by Kate Welch.
Oh, that'd be.
I need to look into this a little bit more, but Holly Strix was on there, and
nice.
I think Jim has stepped away from conventions. He's
done.
Mike Krahulik, just in general, he posted that he's like, I've never been this kind of like outgoing celebrity guy. I'm just kind of a funny nerd that draws comics. And I think with the pandemic and stuff, he was like, I'm gonna bow out. And he was like, I'm not going to be attending any more PAX conventions, kind of a thing.
Jim Dark Magic.
So Jim Dark Magic, I'm like, well, that's sad because you're literally my favorite on the Acquisitions Incorporated. But they have a lot of awesome people that are coming on there. So I thought that was really cool. So
I'll have to look that up. Hopefully it's on the VODs. They usually stream to Twitch and that kind of stuff.
But I saw on Twitter they were setting up at the big theater in Seattle. What is I forgot its name. I saw so many concerts there. But yeah, they were setting up there, and I'm like, to see them, that'd be so cool to like go to that concert house and see all those people play D&D and stuff, and so it'd be kind of fun.
Very cool. We'll have to check out, see what kind of online presence you can find at PAX then, see if they're showing like
big time, yeah. I think they're
game
all
room stuff,
on
if they're showing,
yeah. There were online badges you could buy too. So
very cool.
Mr. Lucian, it was very popular. It's weird. The Paizo report, the Pathfinder report,
Sir from Lucian last Paizo
week.
Report.
So I don't know if we can make this a thing going forward.
Yeah, I think.
But
we should,
do you have any Pathfinder news?
Can we get like a helicopter sound, and I'll get like an old style microphone, and
we should be like,
I'm reporting on a hurricane.
Good morning, Vietnam, and you're like, good morning. What is the Paizo?
Good morning, ABC Fox 22 viewers, or whatever channel local channel you have.
Our local D&D.
So I had also heard that it was popular, and so I thought, well, let me look up something for next week. So what happened? A big thing dropped, which just coincides. They actually released a game just like the Wizards of the Coast released Baldur's Gate, or is it an early access on Steam? But this was actually released, PC game, the Pathfinder Wrath of Righteousness. Now, this isn't their first game, because I know Kingmaker's been out there before, and maybe if there's a slow news period, I'll jump back and tell people about that game. But this is their newest one that just dropped this past week. I think you could get it right on Monday. You could jump in and start playing. Cool. It is out on Steam and Epic Game Store and GOG and GOG, where you can buy games. It is for the PC and the Mac. It's developed by Owlcat Games. So it's not Paizo's name's not on it, but they're partnered with
it's their IP. It's the exact same Wizards does. So yeah.
Yeah. And then based Adventure Path off of the same name. So if you recognize the name, there was an adventure path called Wrath of the Righteous. And one thing that I thought might be interesting to Jordan here, this feels a little bit like the 4th edition storyline of the Cataclysm, where there's a big rip or rend in the spell world plague? Yeah, kind of spell plague kind of thing.
Okay.
And now a portal has been opened to somewhere else, and things are streaming out of that rip in this world, and you're there to either slow that down or take advantage of the stuff that's been overrun and left behind. And apparently it's just this big rent in the world now of I think their world is Glorian. I don't know if that's the proper.
Yeah, I can't remember. They have their own
I'm starting to learn.
Well, and Paizo, but so does Kobold Press. I found out they have their own play in the world of Kobold Press, and it's a lot like Faerun, where you can play in the desert, you can play in the forest, you can play in the ocean. They have all of those little niche areas that you want to play in are in one big world. So, which our own world does that. It makes sense,
So this is a tactical top-down game, similar to the Baldur's Gate games that we have seen out there, similar to, what's the other one you just had me play that was 5e rule set, but it wasn't by Wizards of the Coast? Solasta.
Yeah.
Yeah. So similar in that vein, I think you get to create a party, you get to go through adventures, and there seemed to have been pretty ambitious game design here. So there's something really cool. So what I thought I was going to do is this weekend I was going to pick it up on Steam and give it a try. And that way in next week's Lucian's Paizo report, I can tell you a little bit about the game after I've actually played it. I was playing Baldur's Gate earlier this week. And so this was kind of cool that this kind of dropped. So Wrath of the Righteous, you can see it out at their website. You can get it from any of your game places that you buy your
is this isometric like Kingmaker was? Okay.
Yep, isometric, so top down,
I do like
3D.
Those. Yeah.
Lots of cool spell effects. You're creating characters based off of their class system. It's their rule set. So the graphics look pretty good. The storyline sounded cool. It sounded like you could do a lot of cool stuff. It even sounded like there might even be some. They were talking about how the world reacts to you, and do you go and are you a friend that helps other people? Are you somebody who's raising an army? Mm-hmm. Are you helping the good races of the world? Or it even seemed like you could kind of turn that campaign evil if you wanted to, and maybe go a little bit more of an evil route with it, so you can do something there too. So I don't know a ton about it yet. I'll definitely play it and maybe come back and tell everybody a little bit about it next week, but everybody can go check that out. And what I figure I will do until people are bored is I will try to pick one thing from Pathfinder each week in our show just to kind of highlight. So if there's no news item, I'll go back and look at a book that they released maybe, or talk about, one of the adventures past they've done, or just kind of look at something that was from Paizo that we hadn't seen before.
It would be interesting to see the differences between the lore and the gods or something, where it's like, okay, we have a god of light or the god of the sun for Forgotten Realms. Here's like the same thing. Or what I be more interested in is something that's unique to the Paizo world or Glorion. I'm bad.
Yeah, I think it's
Golarion.
Or Galarian.
Yeah, something like that. So that would be really interesting to me, but that would be something I should probably do. So
So just one more thing to expose us to, one more thing to draw inspiration from for whatever game you're playing. You can use this stuff in DCC, you can use this stuff in 5e, you can use this stuff in your Cypher game. You can pick stuff out from. You don't have to just say, I can only play what they're doing in Pathfinder. You could take it and put it in your system, or you could just branch out and try another RPG. If you've done a full year of Dungeon of the Mad Mage and you need a break and you want to try something else, maybe Wrath of the Righteous is something you're looking for. So
that would, now that I think about it, like, I don't know many streams that do this, but that would be interesting to say, we're going to play, let's say we're going to play Dungeon of the Mad Mage, but we're going to use Pathfinder rules, or something vice versa. Like, I'm going to play in this Pathfinder world, but we're going to use D&D rules. That would be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a funny twist on the streams that a lot of people are like, wait, what? So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Use their world, but these rules.
Yeah. And just a different thing. Like, nobody's stopping you. So yeah.
So that was our Paizo report. Go check it out. Let us know in the comments what you think of the game. If you picked the game up, are these the type of games you like? Because there's a lot more of these coming out now. I think with some of the older games, like we always talk about Neverwinter Nights and all of that, there was a big gap, and then some more of these started coming out.
Yes, Pillars of Eternity. That was another one.
PoE, Pillars of Eternity.
I never played
I'm trying to think there was another one. But I forget. Divinity Original Sin, I think, was real popular.
Yeah,
and
that was a fun
they did a 2 to that one. So that kind of kicked off, I thought, the bringing back of these type of games. And then we had Baldur's Gate, and we had this one with. There's another one out here, Kingmaker. So it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of Twitch streamers are running some of these games too, so you can watch them play it if you want to do that instead of buying it yourself. You just want to see them play it. Sometimes that's nice before you buy. Go out and see what they're doing. So that's what we have for this week. Next week, stay tuned. I'll have something new. If they announce something, we'll talk about Pathfinder news, or we'll pick something in the past that none of us have seen on this show.
I think MCDM talked about this, but they're working on a Beastmaster class.
Yeah,
they talked about that. James Introcaso is working on it. Very excited. They have a whole new 5e rule set with the keyword companion. So when you befriend a beast, it becomes a companion, and then it gets all these other rules applied to it, which is really awesome. And they're doing a good job. I'm really excited for that because I like pets. The Pathfinder, they came out with a lot of crazy classes, and one of them was a summoner type that that's what I've always really enjoyed, is like conjuring spirits. And 5e is kind of getting there. I played a conjuration wizard, and I was able to have like my air elementals run around and stuff, but it wasn't the exact flavor that I wanted. But I always felt that Pathfinder hit that for me. I'm like, no, you're doing what I want, like where you have like this constant elemental companion that can change and grow and stuff. So
Yep, I agree totally. So I noticed we have been talking quite a bit about Kickstarters lately, and we went on a big Kickstarter it was right after last week's show. We probably stayed on for another 20 minutes and talked about Kickstarters.
Yeah.
So I see it's prominent in our notes. I see that Jordan still wants to talk about some Kickstarters, and Lucian, I love Kickstarters.
I know. And that's where two things I want to point out before we kind of talk about this. Outside of, and this is for board games too, but outside of big manufacturers like Hasbro or Wizards of the Coast or something like that, Kickstarter is really where you get new board games and where you get RPG stuff.
Right now, yeah.
Right now, because like before, I think like if nobody wanted to publish you, then you just had this and you're like, I guess I put it out on the internet. I don't know.
You go to the convention. Yeah,
or
you go to Gen Con
or you make zines or something like that. It was really difficult, but nowadays it's like if you have a good idea, there's an artist out there that wants to work with you, and you like put it together and you make a really cool product. So this is all because of this conversation was from last week, but also because I've been in talking with Dragori Games because their Kickstarter is blowing up. And I was like, so you guys make board games, but like, why go into this whole 5e thing? And he's like, because like it's blowing up. Yeah. And he started giving me all of these statistics, and I was like, okay. And so then I went back with what he said, and I was looking at what actually happened. So this last year has broke crowdfunding. It's the biggest year for crowdfunding tabletop RPG content. And remember how blown away we were that Colville's thing went over $1 million.
Right.
Strongholds and followers. And it was like, that's amazing. Like, you can make $1 million.
Yeah.
Now everybody's doing that. 2 million, 3 million. Like, it's crazy. So apparently, as far as funded campaigns, this year broke the record for campaigns over 100K. And I think this is where I don't know if I misinterpreted, but also campaigns that reached $1,000. So there was just a lot. And then overall, they were saying that fewer campaigns made it on Kickstarter, but the ones that did make it, that reached their goal, surpassed their goal by an unprecedented amount. So it's kind of that fear of missing out and like, you know, the stone gathering momentum as it's rolling down the hill, I think, is a lot of people are like, yeah, I'll get on board. Like, I'm not super interested, but like, I want to have the book rather than not have it. And here's some stats. So Hellenia's, which I did not know about this very well. I guess I just wasn't super, or they didn't contact me to advertise on my channel. But Hellenia's Guide to Monster Hunting. This is a 5e book by a company called Hit Point Press. And
good name.
This is already funded. And links are all down below because we were talking about this. But like, this is already funded. But they raised $1.8 million. And from what I was talking to people, they were just like, yeah, 1.8 million. And everybody's like, wait, what? You know, and so that's the first 5e Kickstarter that kind of matched or came close to Colville's Strongholds. And so people were like, oh. And now the Dungeon Dudes, they came out with their book, which as far as I know is like a campaign setting. They have some new mechanics and stuff, but I was looking at that as you kind of have to be a Dungeon Dudes fan to really enjoy that book. Well, they closed a Kickstarter for 1.2 million.
Nailed it.
Like really recently. And it's like, okay. Oh, but that's Dungeons and Dragons. So that kind of makes sense because D&D is really popular.
Sure.
But then you have the One Ring RPG 2nd edition, and that isn't D&D. Granted, it has Lord of the Rings behind it, and that's very popular.
Yep.
But they reached 1.9 million with their Kickstarter. Then, out of nowhere, Avatar Legends, the RPG, comes out.
And starts swinging Mike Tyson of Kickstarters right now.
Yeah. So this is also not D&D.
No.
You know, it's a completely different system.
Yep. Powered by the Apocalypse, sort of, but they'll adjust it. Yeah.
Yeah. Magpie Games, they're currently at $9.5 million for this. Like
9.
It's crazy. Or did it close? Oh, it did.
That's what it did. Just closed at 9.5 something.
9.5 million.
Every stretch goal hit, they're doing everything. Yeah, it's crazy.
Before that, Magpie Games with 9.5 million, the biggest non-D&D Kickstarter for tabletop RPGs was Robotech in 2018, and Robotech in 2018 raised 1.4 million. So like this is this is huge. And from what Dragori Games and I were talking about, they're like, no, the whole like gaming world is looking at RPGs and not just D&D anymore, because Magpie Games is like, whoa, like could I go and get another property? And then you talk about it like Renegade Studios partnered with Hasbro, and they're making the G.I. Joe and we talked about that before, Transformers and Power Rangers.
G.I. Joe.
So if all you need is that nostalgia property of like, I really like Avatar: The Last Airbender, well, here you go. Here's $9.5 million to make a book. Like, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. So then because of this, I go and I look on the internet, and I'm like, well, what Kickstarters are happening right now? Kobold Press is doing Tome of Heroes. It looks really cool. It's very 5e based. I went out and I backed it. I'm excited for Tome of Heroes. Looks cool.
Love Kobold Press. Yeah.
Exalted Funeral, who they helped make the Old School Essentials and doing a lot of other stuff. They have a system neutral book called The Herbalist Primer that I think they were not expecting it to blow up this much. But the Herbalist Primer, what is it at right now? It's at $380,000, but they wanted 10. You know? And this is a system neutral product just about plants that you can find in your fantasy game setting.
Yeah, and then you can add them into your role-playing game, and people can use them as like medications or anti-poisons.
There's
or
like poisons and antidotes in this. And cool stuff. Oh my gosh, like they were just like, okay, so that happened, because I think they got over $100,000 the first day, and they were like, wait, what? Like we were expecting something else, you know? So, and even the DCC stuff is blowing up. Like those Kickstarters did really well. So I'm blown away. Like I really am blown away. And I'm wondering, there's two paths, obviously. This is going to continue, and we're going to be like, holy cow, like everybody's making a Kickstarter. I've already talked to some other YouTubers, and they're just like, no, I got to get on this Kickstarter train. And I think I personally feel that's the wrong mindset. I'm like, well, you should be like, I really want to make this book, and hopefully it'll do well. They're looking at all that money, and they're just like, I should make a book. And I'm like, well, yeah, I get you. But I can't blame them, because I'm kind of doing the same thing. And I'm like, Lucian, we need to make our like vertical sky crawl kind of thing.
If there's
I don't want millions, but if I made $30,000 to be able to produce that'd be really cool. So
I would love to ship out a couple hundred books, whatever that would equal to, a couple hundred people that said, we really liked your idea. We really liked the artwork you put in. We're really excited about this thing that you threw together, that, the way you guys talked about it. So I want to order one. I mean, just that would be super cool, let alone what it would actually do if it went. And I think it's a great time. A lot of people are looking for, and it's a Kickstarter is a fun, almost like Christmas present that you don't know when it's going to arrive. So it's very easy to get excited about a campaign and what they're talking about, and see the designers and what they're doing, decide to give them $20, $40, $50, $70, and be like, okay. And then at some point in the future, it's going to arrive on your doorstep, and you get to unbox it. And then there it is in your hand. And then you get to read through it and look through it, and whether you use it or not. Now, I'm a person who buys a ton of Kickstarters who haven't even played all the ones I bought, and I'm still buying more, because if it's a cool idea and I think the creators are excited about it, then I want in. And I think Matt Colville's latest video said the same thing. One of his players wanted to come up and says, I'm super excited about playing this system. Will you play this system if I run it? And then he's going on and on about what he loves about it. And Matt's like, if my DM loves the system, then I'm your player. I'm in, because your enthusiasm is going to make that game awesome.
Yeah, and I'm right there with them. Like, if somebody comes to me and they're just like, and I will at least try it. But I'm right there with them. Like, if somebody comes up to me and they're just like, dude, robots, and like you pilot them, and like I can't even tell you how cool this is, I'm like, I'm in. Like
let's play it. Let's do it.
If you're having that much fun, I can only imagine that I'm going to have a fraction of it, and that's going to be great, because you're so excited. Like, that's so cool.
Your enthusiasm is going to ride it. So I like that.
Kickstarter, obviously, like there's money in it. I don't think there's ever been like money in RPGs. People always did it as kind of like a passion project. Next February's Zine Quest, I can only imagine is going to be huge. Like,
right.
It was really big this year, but like with these kind of numbers, if people are just like, oh my gosh. So I don't know, like start writing now for your like.
And I don't
February
think it's
Zine
just
Quest, but
TRPGs, although it is the big renaissance for TRPGs right now. Tabletop.
Well, and we're a tabletop
games.
show. That's what I wanted to talk about. But you're
but
right.
Board games have
games
blown
are
up.
also blowing up.
Yeah, because miniature games, because people can print these cool miniatures, and then people look at those and they're painted. And they're like, I want this game, and because if you don't get it now, they're not going to print another edition of it. Like Monty Cook did Invisible Sun. You can't just walk out and get Invisible Sun unless they do another print run.
Exactly.
And the way Monty Cook will do it is if they get enough people that want it again, they'll run another Kickstarter to do a fulfillment Kickstarter. So that's how they run theirs, because they run it and then they let it go and
they
want to
pre-sell,
the next project.
which I completely understand.
Yeah.
Because then you're not sitting on a warehouse full of
you're not,
Invisible Sun boxes. Like, it makes sense.
Yeah. You're not a retail store. You're not worried about inventory year after year, that kind of thing. You're just like, let's run a campaign fulfillment. Everybody that wants to order it, put your money in the pot. We run the big run. Boom. Everybody's got what they got. We're moving on.
Yeah. So. No, I was curious because I didn't actually know this. So Kickstarter takes 5% of whatever you raise. That's their fee. And then they also take a payment processing fee, which looks to be like 20 cents per pledge plus 3% of the pledge. So they said average, you're losing about 10% of whatever you pledge. So you need to factor that into your cost for things. But like, I'm still just blown away. Like,
I wanted to ask Celeste, or I was going to ask maybe, or the Web DM boys, they'd tell us at some point, how much is it to produce the book? How much of it is shipping? So they all must have broken down the math of this part of the pledge goes to Kickstarter. This part of the pledge goes to the physical manufacturer of the book. This part of the pledge goes to the shipping of that book to get it to the person that ordered it. And this part of the pledge goes to us for being the creators, the designers, and how we paid.
Yeah, and then we take
artists
that
and our story writers.
You need
and
artists and all that other stuff.
Yeah. So that's kind of like your share of it to pay all the people that were involved in this piece. You know, you got people that manage it. There's people that are dealing with all of the, troubleshooting.
Well, and I think that's why they partnered with 2C Games. I mean, Celeste works for 2C Games now. So, but beforehand, I mean, I think that's why you did. You're just like, okay, 2C Games knows Kickstarter. I'm going to let them.
And if they came back, and they said, like, Lucian, you bought this Aliens game, and we Kickstarted it, and I Kickstarted that one for $59.99, I think is what it was. And if they told me, well, it only cost $20 for the manufacturer to make that, I'd be like, I don't care. Have my extra $30 because you guys earned it. The art you put together, the story writing, the game design you put into it, the play testing, you earn that extra money that goes to your team for that book, So I think it's a great way to do it. I think it's a great way for the community to really let the creators know if they want something or not, and if it's going to be popular or not. And if you can find a nostalgia, like you said, IP that's willing to work with you. Like I was thinking, like when we were talking, like who would I want to be? Like what IP would I want to try to bring over that I think could be exciting? I'm not necessarily trying to shoot for Avatar 9 million, but wouldn't it be cool if you could partner with like Dota and do an RPG based on all of their characters that they have for a Dota game? Mm-hmm. Or if you pick, we talked about Pokemon, if Nintendo would ever let somebody do a TTRPG of Pokemon.
There is one. I don't know if
I'm sure it's out there, but like a new one, like you go to them and you say, here's a Kickstarter, we'll pay your license fee. We want to do this.
I got this module D6 system.
Game.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We got artists lined up. We've got storylines.
You don't even need artists. You have, like, Nintendo has all of that for you. Like, they would just have to,
That would be a cool one. I think a cool one, Diablo could be a really cool.
It was back in 3.5,
Yeah, like, but its own full
Mm-hmm.
role-playing game. It doesn't have to be just a piece of the 5e or, the Wizards of the Coast stuff. I think that could be pretty cool too. So there's a lot of IPs out there that'd be fun.
I know someone who's working on Fraggle Rock.
Oh,
like,
here we go.
There's little things like that you don't think of that you're just like, I might play a Fraggle Rock game. Like, that could be kind of fun. So
that was a great show.
I don't know. There's some interesting stuff out there. Now I'm trying to think of like shows that I, like Disney's Aladdin. Like, I love that.
Yeah,
that would.
I think there could be a lot of Disney ones
as like a Little Mermaid, like all kinds of stuff you can do that with Disney. Which I'm surprised Disney isn't. I don't know. I feel like maybe they are jumping on the train.
Yeah. I think you could do a pre-teen.
I think lately we're gonna get a Marvel like cinematic universe one from them at some point when they're gonna partner with somebody. But
yeah. So. But I can see you doing a young adult role playing game that's meant to be played with 8 to 9 to 10 to 10-year-olds. It's all of the Disney princess stuff and all of the Disney cartoon stuff brought together in little worlds, and then that is where you get to play and run your adventures as the person running the adventures for those kids.
Yeah,
I think that could be a really fun idea too.
Kingdom Hearts
kind of
Kingdom Hearts the
right?
RPG.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So well, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about Kickstarters. That's really it. And I guess my question for you, Lucian, like, this is clearly going to be the future because it already is the future of board games. No longer do you have to go and try to sell it to an investor who's going to front the money.
Right.
Like, you're not doing that anymore. You're literally just going to the internet and you're like, will you do this? And they're like, oh, okay, yeah,
And either it works or it doesn't.
And I backed one Kickstarter that was successful and they never delivered. And that's the fear. And I'm still a little bitter every time I look at all of my pledges because I go through and I'm like, did I receive this yet? And I'm like, oh, that stupid book. I never got it. I'm really angry.
It's funny. My very first Kickstarter, because I wasn't really onto the whole Kickstarter boat in the beginning, they went through, but it ultimately was not able to deliver a product because they couldn't do it. But I kind of convinced myself that what they were trying to do was pretty experimental, and that if they couldn't get it to go, then what they were trying to do is create a sword fighting game.
Like fencing?
That was like full on how a sword actually moves and blocks. And they started to develop a controller that would work with it so that you're doing the moves and the system. And it was by, not Brandon Sanderson, but it was by a high level author was backing it. The guy who wrote Snow Crash.
Oh,
was
Neil
backing
Stevenson.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was backing it, and they were trying to do all kinds of computer stuff. I think they were just a little bit too early. If you try it now, they could do it. But it was like a full-on sword fight game that was a real game, and it just never materialized. But I was like, you know what? They're trying something crazy. They're shooting for the moon here. If they don't make it, they don't make it. They were upfront about it. They weren't trying to lie to people because there is some scams out there. Not to, people always do your due diligence. Don't just take mine or Jordan's word for it. Make sure you look at the campaign and you're willing to lose that money. I always think too, that was in my head. I'm willing for nothing to come back. I like the idea. I hope I get what they're doing. If I don't, I don't. Don't spend money you don't have. But
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Talking about gaming, so we had one new segment, but why not add 2 new segments in a show?
Oh, that's right.
I want to do a game show in the middle of our podcast because we're a gaming podcast. Why wouldn't we have a game in the middle of our podcast? Normally, we'd be talking about like Bardic Inspiration, or we might be doing one of our other segments.
This is a podcast within a podcast. It's a new trending thing, but
new game show.
Nobody's ever done this before.
Everybody gets to play, so this is going to be fun. To set it up, the way this is going to work, because I need Jordan's full reaction and your guys' reaction, is I'm going to post an image in our Discord in the Tavern Chat channel.
Saturday Morning D&D Tavern Chat channel.
So go out there. If you could put the link in your in the YouTube. So this is how YouTube people can see it. If you're watching on Twitch, I'm going to put the picture on the screen, so you don't have to go nowhere. But for this to work for anybody that's over on YouTube, go ahead and jump on our Discord right now. And I'm going to drop in an image to Tavern Chat in the Saturday Morning D&D show area. Now let me set up this game. So this game is learn to love what you hate. All right. I'm going to put an image up, and I want you, Jordan, to look at it. And I want you, from a 5e perspective, in any of the books, you can grab any of the classes, races, or anything. I want you to tell me from this image, tell me what this image to you would be. What character would you play with this image? So you're putting,
so like I'm building a character.
You look at this and go, oh, this must be this character that I would build this way with this subclass or this.
Okay.
So I'm going to do one. We're going to start one out.
All right. I'm in here. We're talking about the Midwest in this chat so far.
Yeah. All right. So the first one I'm going to put out there. Let me go here and do a little copy.
Resend is like, the U.S. is weird. It really is.
Yeah. Ignore all the conversation before.
He is hilarious. Our German friend.
Yeah. Okay. So copy. Let's make sure this works. Dropping it in. Control V. Make sure it doesn't give me any.
For the listeners on the podcast later, I apologize. But you too could go to our Discord by going to https.
It'll still be there. Yeah.
//bit.ly/J Jordan with a PH in the middle.
All right. So now on my transition, let me get mine set up. So I'm putting it up. Jordan's about to see it. Jordan, tell me, what character class would you play? What does this inspire you when you see it? The name of this art is Ursula.
Yeah, that's really cool. Probably
putting it up on Twitch right now. There we go. Ursula.
Man. And then actually, if we're going to keep doing this next week, I'll get it so I can have it on on YouTube here. But I want to say a fighter. Okay. But like probably with some levels of the sneaky bard, the Bard of Whispers, College of Whispers.
Oh, okay. So they're gonna multi-class.
Yeah, I think I would go fighter for the polearm feat and all that other stuff, and then a College of Whispers bard who like steals faces and things like that. So
okay,
it's really cool.
I like it. Ursula's very cool. Let me give you another one. So we'll hide that one. Putting up number 2 in.
Oh, you want Polearm Master? That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and for those of you that are joining along, tell us what you think. What character would you play? This is your character art. What class would you play? How about this one? This one's name is Mordecai.
Oh man, this feels like, I want to say a priest of Ilmater. So like a cleric.
I like where you're going. But if you go out of the box too, like where would you go with this? I'm almost get a warlock feeling.
No, I'm getting a very strong warlock thing. So I'm trying to think, is there a warlock that's like there's a divine warlock, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do the divine warlock, probably Pact of the Tome, I think. Even though he doesn't have a book, he feels like he should have a book.
Nice. All right.
But yeah.
He might have one on his back somewhere with the chains and the very cool. All right. So let's get a little crazier. Let's do that one and then open this one up and transition it.
Celestial Warlock, I think is what I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay.
Human Light Domain Cleric, that's pretty good.
Like that.
This
Jedi
one
is called Tuin Narok. I like this one. This one's good.
I do not see anything. Oh, here it is.
Tuin Narok.
Yeah. Probably.
I threw a desert one in.
Probably
like
a rogue. But like, what kind of a rogue? I love this desert stuff, by the way. So
yeah. I like the color combination that they're using with the blues that highlight, but then it's got the subtles, the whites and the yellows and the
this, I think this is a soul knife.
Okay.
A soul knife rogue
that.
For me.
Yeah,
so
I like it.
I would definitely
Desert
do that.
Ranger. That's a good
Desert
one,
Ranger would be good.
Jedi.
Yeah, like dual wield. Yeah.
That would be pretty
Net
cool.
Jedi's better at this than I am. So
all right, let me give you guys another one. Let's pop one more up here. Let's move this one over, transition, and then let's drop this. I did 5 just for fun. Here we go. Should be popping in any second.
You're just trying to steal my YouTube viewers to Twitch. I see what you're doing.
A little bit. No. I'm trying to get them on Discord. That's our game.
Oh man, yeah. That's
is named Fodbor, a dwarf.
Yeah. So
Clearly
dwarven, probably a dwarven bard.
Yeah.
I would go College of Valor just because dwarves should run around.
He's got that cool axe in his hand on one side. But I mean, just look at the detail of that character. Dwarf Valor Bard for sure. Yeah. He's got some cool stuff.
And Bard is a really, I think I've said this before, but it's becoming my favorite class because of how much you can play different styles.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be a very, there's so many spells that are self-buffing or basically something that doesn't need a charisma saving throw. And I built a Minotaur, strength bard that all he does is he has support spells, but it's concentration stuff. I'm going to put heroism on somebody and you get to attack twice. You get big weapons or martial weapons and things like that. And that's what I picture of this guy too. I think he would be a really cool axe bard.
Ooh, dwarf historian I like too, because you don't have to go bard with even though maybe that's just
even though there's an instrument.
He took the musical instrument as a skill, right?
Maybe a transmutation wizard or something. Yeah.
Could be pretty cool. All right, one last one. This one I chose specifically for the Drow the Drow campaign that you've been talking about. This one is named Spider. Let me drop this one in.
I want to play that so bad.
Tell me what class you would think this is. I'm thinking Drow, but maybe somebody out of the box could come up with something but check this one out.
Yeah.
Spider.
I mean, that feels like a Drow Pact of the Blade, but what's the I don't have all of these memorized. I love that
it's
feels like a warlock.
Climbing hooks.
Yeah.
The underground, subterranean climbing hooks as the weapons. Oh my god, that's so good.
That is really. I mean, obviously a Drow fighter. This could work.
Shadow
really well.
Sorcerer could be fun.
But I want to say the Hexblade. Because that feels like something that you would summon those and
And the things on your back are because you're to the goddess
Lolth.
Yeah. So you're
it feels very, very spidery because of the things on his back. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I would do a melee, a melee warlock, maybe a couple levels of fighter as well. So
nice. All right, so
that's cool.
The reason we went through the whole game show is, did all of those inspire you in some D&D way? Did all of those or any of those or some of those make you think there's some really cool characters out there?
Yeah, Drow Ranger, that would be good too.
Yeah, that you would want to play. Did it inspire you?
Oh yeah, I would love to play that one or the well, yeah, just about any of them would be really cool. Yeah.
And you saw that style of artwork, what they did. Would you want to see more of what those people have done? Because that's from a specific source.
Is it from a game?
It is from a game.
Okay.
I got these. I had the game up and I was taking pictures out. Jordan, today's episode has been sponsored by. This is not true. They have not sponsored us. Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh my gosh.
Who made a terrible comment at least 3 weeks ago when you said, because they keep popping their advertisements up and everybody probably gets tired of seeing them. Yeah. These are characters from that game. And guess what, Jordan? I've been playing for a month and I enjoy it. I've not spent a single cent.
Okay.
I have been playing for free. These are some of the characters that you can get or I have gotten in the game while I've been playing. And there's even more. They have factions that are they must have 20 factions of characters that you can get of different tiers and you can play in this game. Definitely one of those what do they call these type of games? Idle games where you're not doing.
I don't like them. You like those idle games.
I know you hate them.
Where you're like, it plays for me, and I'm like, I don't know.
Shadow Legends is where that's coming from. What I liked about it though, and the reason I wanted to bring it up, maybe you don't like the game, maybe it's not the type of game you like, but just that artwork, if you go in and look at it, could inspire you in your next role-playing game or campaign that you run. You should go look at the Dark Elves so that when you run your Dark Elf campaign, you should see some of the cool good guys and bad guy ones in my mind. I was like, oh, this would be a cool good guy part of the Dark Elf campaign you're running. But man, this would be the cool super boss of the Dark Elf campaign you're running. Look at this artwork.
I have a folder called Inspiration that I throw artwork into to be like either like a character I want to play or an NPC or something like that. So it's really cool art. But yeah, I think it's Raid Shadow Legends. I'm not a fan.
Give it a chance. I didn't win you over. You didn't
learn
to love it yet.
I have not spent any money in. But I'm playing and having the most amount of fun. Magic the Gathering Arena. Yeah. So, talk about inspiring art.
Yeah. So that's what I thought. So for those of you that are out there, you may see these games that come by. It's a mobile game. Sometimes people don't like mobile games. They don't like these. But maybe go into it not looking to play the game or have fun with the game, or don't give them any of your money. I'm not, unless you want to. Go ahead. I won't tell you how to spend your money. But there can be inspiring things that you can pull out of it. So don't just let it go by without taking a look, because there are some
spend money
really
on Raid
cool
Shadow
things.
Legends. Don't. And instead become a member of the Saturday Morning D&D Show YouTube channel to help support these people that are making content.
So that was the game show I've been waiting to do for a few days. They have some really cool characters, and I am actually enjoying the game, and I'm doing it without paying. I'm doing it all free to play.
Yeah. Cool.
So very cool. I thought I would show that out, and I might even stream some of it so more people can see, just be exposed to, because they have a cool story, they have cool characters.
Yeah.
Why not at least see those things, even if it's not the type of game you'd like to play.
Cool.
All right, game show over for this week. I'll try to find something next week
for our fantastic game show. It's a podcast within a podcast. Not a lot of people do that. It's kind of a new thing. Clearly something we came up with. Lucian, what's going on with Dungeon of the Mad Mage?
We are deep into Naga, Bone Naga, more Naga, fighting Nagas. That was the big kind of theme of the whole last part of our session, if you go back and take a look at it, which was really fun. We hadn't really fought some of them. There's a lot of mind control. There's a lot of domination stuff happening. Stuff that your characters I don't think run into till they start to get mid to high level, because in the beginning, you're mostly getting beat up by teeth, claws, and weapons, those special abilities. But then as your characters have grown more powerful, the way to combat more power is to take away your turn from you, or dominate you, or make you hit your friend for a turn before you break out of it, kind of thing. That I'm starting to see that shift in the gameplay when we've hit this kind of 10th level area. So that's been pretty cool. The one thing I will also say about it is I'm really, really, really enjoying Twilight Divinity, and being able to use that as my action to do the Twilight Divinity. It has this, puts an aura around you of 30 feet circle, and it is dim light around you. So I always describe it as like a smoke and darkness just kind of wraps around me as I move around. In any character that ends its turn there, if I want, I can give it 1d6 plus my level temp hit points.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like a roaming around, giving a little bit of hit points here, a little bit of hit points there for people. But there's also one more feature, and it worked in this last one. One of our wizard became charmed and shot our party with a fireball. Missed his save to break the charm, so he was going to next turn unleash another big spell on us. But because I had this divine Twilight Divinity ability, I could remove a effect from a player. I can remove charmed or frightened from a player. So it came in handy. It was a really cool thing. Worked out in the game, so I thought that was super fun. So that's what I did there. I have jumped back into Baldur's Gate, and because I wanted to play through the Druid, which got released as a class within Baldur's Gate. Eventually, they're going to have all the classes and all the subclasses from the player's handbook, as far as I know. And I think it's going to be fun to go through and play a bunch of those. I played thus far a wizard, and I've played, I believe, a warlock. So I wanted to try druid out. And now this weekend, after we get done with today's show, I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy that Paizo game, and I'm going to play a little bit of Wrath of the Righteous, and I'll be able to come back next week and tell you guys, how Wrath of the Righteous went. So
cool.
That's what I've been doing. What about Jordan's role playing?
Yeah.
Plans, games, things you did since the last time we met.
Boy, yeah. So my players voted. I kind of put this on Twitter and all over the Jocular Junction and stuff, but they kind of unanimously wanted to play Dungeon Crawl Classics. And it's funny because there was this part of me that's like, I really will never play Invisible Sun, will I? Like, this is so sad. But the more I was talking, I'm like, the more I was thinking about it, I'm like, I really need a specific set of friends that want to dive into that with me. And although playing at the table is what I want to do with that game so badly, I might have to do it over the internet. And so I'm like, maybe someday I'll pull people together, because Monty Cook actually made some online tools, and I've been watching one of the playthroughs of an actual play that people are playing online. But anyway, go ahead.
I think it should be a convention game.
It could be a convention game. That could be fun too.
The players you need,
but I don't want to haul that to a convention.
Right? Yeah. Well, true. You don't want the casual player. You need the hardcore. I'm willing to play any TTRPG, and I'm excited about playing. Not just I'm willing, but I'm excited to play these different ones. And you only get that from the people who are willing to spend a couple of $100 to go to Indianapolis or somewhere, get a hotel room and then be around a million nerds for a 4-day weekend, right? So to me, that's where we need to play. It needs to be like me, you, LB, Ted.
Be fun.
Lex. I bet Lex would play.
Yeah.
And then right in a hotel room or out in a cool room at the hotel that we're all in. I think we could play a cool Invisible Sun game.
Be fun. So I wasn't super sad, just reflecting on my Invisible Sun purchase and how I've yet to play. But I do love Dungeon Crawl Classics. Go ahead and take a drink, Danimal. They decided to play DCC for a lot of different reasons, but I didn't realize how new some of my players were. And that they wanted to try this, but they were like, I don't really understand. And so one of my players approached me and was like, I think this is going to be good for like X, Y, and Z, because it's like DCC is not overly complex. There's just lots of tables to roll on to see what happens. And that's why it's random and gonzo. But at the end of the day, you're rolling a D20 to see if you hit. And that's what they kind of needed. So
cool.
We all made level 0 characters, and I started running them through Sailors on the Starless Sea, which is like the go-to default funnel of fun. And we got halfway through it. We're not playing this week because some of my players are gone, but we're going to finish that. And then that Sailors on the Starless Sea ends with a boat ride. And so if you get on this boat to kind of like flee a catastrophe, and I think that boat is going to sail into Hot Springs Island. And I'm going to run a little bit of Hot Springs Island, and then really just see where it goes and what they want to do. Because I was telling Lucian before the game started, or before the show started, that I have been rereading a lot of my stuff, and I'm like, oh, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and what if I made a campaign about this? Like, I'm in full running a game mode, and I'm loving it. And I haven't
creativity is just flowing out.
Well, literally, like, I think last year is when I finished. Last December, I finished Rod of 7 Parts, and I haven't ran a game since. Not like a long-form campaign. So I'm really excited.
Here's my question. You have spent a whole bunch of time creating your own world. You spent a bunch of time creating an adventure, and it's on the DMsGuild. People can go buy it and run it themselves.
One shot, yeah.
Except for DCC, you seem to always run already published adventures.
Because there's so many, I think. But yeah, you're right.
Why do you do that? You won't do it for 5e. You'll run whatever you want for 5e.
Well, I ran Rod of 7 Parts. That's a published adventure. Not for 5e, but...
Right, but your home games have all been... your own adventure.
My
right,
Forgotten Realms ones have always been my own adventure, but like the other 5e game I ran was Hot Springs Island, and
that's true.
But you're right. Endigar is going to have Hot Springs Island on it. So if they leave that, they're gonna go and we're gonna flesh out that world a little bit more. And then I was also, depending on where they go, I'm gonna see if they want to run into other stuff. But yeah, no, there are a lot of 5e adventures too, and I usually steal things that I want, and so
and that's what I think.
I have all of this cool OSR stuff, and DCC fits with that so well that it's a little. I should say it's never difficult for me to translate something from one system to another, right. Because if. Like when I did Rod of Seven Parts, if I open this up and they're like, Minotaurs attack you, I just go to 5e and I find Minotaurs and they attack. I don't try to convert monster stat blocks to make it balanced. I just use similar monsters,
But if you were going to run a DCC game that's not a published adventure, have you even thought about a campaign that you'd want to run, but it was DCC rules, and you were making it up? You're not using anything. You've done this a lot. You've thought about this a lot for 5e games.
And
but
for
have you
Kids
done
on
it with
Bikes.
DC?
I've always created my own Kids on Bikes game.
But for DCC, have you
No, I don't think so, because I always have these cool adventures that
you've bought.
Around.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I was just checking.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I haven't. So
I would be curious. Maybe that's your homework for next week's show.
Oh,
the siren.
It's 11 o'clock.
Siren, take us out of here.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. What should I make my own 5e, or should I make my own DCC game, or should I run a bunch of stuff mashed together? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for hanging out with us and for playing games and all this other stuff. We will be back next week with another episode of the Saturday Morning D&D Show. Goodbye, everybody.